Hello, welcome back. Coffee with Carl, number 18. This week has been pretty crazy, and I hope that it's just a sign of things to come, because I enjoy being busy, and often I'm happier when I'm busy. I don't know if that's the same way with you, but I've been loving the comments, loving talking with you guys down there. That honestly is kind of like the big reason that I continue doing these, is the sense of community that I feel with you. And I mean, it's amazing too, because on the main channel, I have a whole list of people that I've had to block because of, just being, downright rude and offensive to other commenters, slurs, stuff like that, where it's like, nah, this is just, you could tell the bad kid in the group, right? And you're just like, all right, you got to get out, because you're just going to ruin the whole bunch. And I don't need somebody coming in and doing that. And I'm very kind of like hesitant to block anybody, because I think it's a good thing to have honest conversation and a good back and forth. But we all know the difference. Well, maybe not all of us, but I think most of us know the difference between constructive conversation, criticism, and challenging somebody's opinion without being overtly offensive, and actually just being a troll and coming out there and just trying to do that. So a lot of times what I try to do is almost like a public execution of people who really just step out of bounds. And oftentimes I'll post that on my Instagram, and it gets a pretty good laugh. So I enjoy the ability to turn something that's negative around to a positive. And sometimes people say, like, why are you giving them a platform? Why are you showing them any attention? And there's definitely merit to that, because of all the wonderful comments that I get and I don't respond to, and then I take the time to respond to somebody like that. I get it, right? It's like putting your attention where it doesn't belong. But at the same time, I think it does show a little bit of like, look, I'm not going to stand for this stuff. You know what I mean? If we were standing toe to toe, is that something you would say to me? And if it's not, then what are you doing? So it's my way of hopefully squashing that down a little bit and getting a good laugh out of it, because they tend to do it to themselves. You know what I'm saying? So if you're not following me over there on Instagram, occasionally I'll put those things up. And the other day, somebody said, that's where I got the public execution thing. Somebody said to me, like, Carl, at some point you're gonna have to stop publicly executing people. And I'm like, taken out of context, that could be really bad. So 2 really exciting things that happened this week. You know what? Actually, I'm going to tell you one more that I really didn't plan on telling you about. But again, this group, I feel like I can tell you more, and we can have a bit more openness than on the main channel, right? Because you're here because you want to be here, and there's no like viral video that has brought you here. Anyway, so you guys are, like I've said before, kind of my core bunch. So let's start in the beginning. The first thing is my first line of merchandise came out, and so this is the hat. What's cool is the way that this company works. The company is called Exclusive. They work with Jeremy Sires. They work with Best Damn EDC. They work with Anders Ericsson, like a whole bunch of really, really cool creators who are sort of within my sphere of whatever. And they're an amazing company. They're also the people who are behind Pete's Pirate Life, which is Peter McKinnon's brand, right? So they know what they're doing. And what they did is they approached me about partnering with them, and I said, that's cool, because to this point I've been using a company called Fourth Wall, which is pretty good. They do drop shipping, and they would send you a sample to make sure it's not garbage. And I have that Patina cheat code shirt through them, a no loafers shirt, and a couple of other items. But I had always just kind of left it there as if, look, if somebody wants to click on that link and get something, that's fine, but I'm not gonna like push it on anybody, because if you want it, you'll find it, right? But this company was different, and this is why I liked them immediately and wanted to work with them. First of all, they wanted to have a phone call. I always love having a phone call with somebody. As you can tell, I'm sitting here talking to a camera for, an hour or 2 every week. Nobody else is responding, and I can just keep going. So I enjoy talking. And so I had a great conversation with the guy who was behind everything over there, Brantley, really cool guy. We hit it off right away. And he had asked kind of, not in the beginning, like, hey, what can we make the most money on? What do you think is going to sell the best? He asked, he's like, what are the things that you use the most? And I'm like, well, I almost always have a hat with me. I've worn the same hat. The one that I have here, I just leave here. The one that I actually wear normally is just a regular old Dry Duck hat. The company Dry Duck, the workwear company. I like them because they're unstructured, and I could take it and I could like literally fold it up, and if I wanted to, and like put it in my bag, and it comes back out and it basically looks exactly the same. And I like that thing about it. So it's really great for the summertime. When you don't have any hair, you have to be really careful of the sun and everything. But I think it's a good idea to have a hat anyway. I mean, like I've always talked about, melanoma, having your skin scraped, that kind of thing, which, knock on wood, has not happened to me yet. It's no picnic. So it's always good to be able to cover your head and protect yourself from those UV rays. And I always had one anyway. They are just incredibly comfortable. When you throw on a hat and you're working overhead, at least you have something that could protect your eyes when wood chips are falling down. You know, if you're drilling at a house or if you're working overhead in any way, the brim certainly keeps that stuff out of your eyes. And the other thing is I just like the way it looks. So I had a dry duck hat for years, and it was kind of my go-to. I also like the fact that they come sort of not pre-distressed, but whatever the material that they're using, this one's brand new. And you can tell that it has a worn sort of appearance to it. So they probably did some washing on it or something. It's not like intentionally stressed, but it comes out looking not like, hey, look at my new hat. And that's what I liked about it too. So I told them that, and they said, well, let's see if we can get that dry duck hat and we'll put your logo on it. I was like, that's an interesting approach. What do you like already? And how can we turn it into a piece of merchandise? That was great. And the other thing I said, I love pocket tees. I wear pocket tees this one doesn't have a pocket, so I'm looking like kind of an idiot. But I wear pocket tees all the time, and I've just gotten so used to, I even do like the old man thing. This seems to be something that only old men do, is like put your phone in your pocket. I do that. And I mean, whatever, it's pulling down. My glasses I put in there. When you have a pocket tee and you go to one like this, you almost kind of like drop things because you're expecting to put it in your pocket. So I said pocket tee is something that I use all the time. And they found a great 100% cotton, sort of rugged looking type of thing. It's like this off-white. It's a great look. I have one around here somewhere, but it is on the page. So those are the first two things that we came out with, and we're going slow. I love the fact that they're doing that, whereas most companies, I think if they approached you, they would say, well, what are the things that we could put out first? Let's get a whole bunch of graphics down, and then we'll send it off, and we could, turn them over or whatever. These guys have a much slower, more steady, honest approach, which I really appreciate. The other thing that happened is the Workhorse Mutton got released, and interestingly enough, so they did like a 1 hour pre-sale thing for the people who sign up for the email list, and total transparency, it's about 11:30 right now. They texted me at 10 after 11, said we've already sold 11 of these things. So that's more than one a minute, which is crazy. But I think that it will be a success. I got a lot of feedback on that, some of which was just, again, I think it was rooted in something else. People who were just upset that it cost so much. And I'm like, look, that Mutton is not cheap, not at all. Everything on this thing is very expensive, and we tried to make, here's the thing, right? The catch-22 is people will say, I want the best that's out there. You make that. They say, oh, well, it's too expensive. And they say, okay, well, here's something that's similar. Oh, but that's not made in America. Okay, well, here's something that's made in America. Yeah, but that's too expensive. People want the world, the moon, and the stars, and you just can't please everyone. So look, if we wanted to make it here, and we wanted to make it out of great material, this is what it costs. I don't know, that people think you're price gouging or something. They're immediately suspicious when something costs a certain amount. But you know what? That's not enough to deter me. I want to pull out all the stops and make something really great. Well, we're going to figure out a way to do that and then charge accordingly. If you don't want to buy it, then don't buy it. I don't know how to tell people that more clearly. If you don't want to buy this thing, nobody's holding a gun to your head. Don't get it. Again, it's one of those things I have to deal with on a constant basis. And honest to God, the comment section has become a blessing and a curse. It's something I love to look at because I really enjoy responding and talking with people. But it also becomes this cesspool of bullshit. So anyway, whatever. People in the Discord are way cooler. You actually are responsible for what you say there. And I find that that's a better way to have a sort of a dialogue. Now, the last little bit of news that I want to give to you, this is something that I really wasn't going to say, but I think that, I have nothing to hide, so why wouldn't I? And a few months ago, the people from Thursday Boots reached out and they said, would you ever be interested in doing a collaborative boot? And I said, yeah, I suppose. I'm open to talking about it. I have sort of a standing rule, which is always take the meeting. You just never know where it's going to lead, right? So if it's not for me, it's not for me, whatever. Of course, there'd be some stipulations, right? Like, I would want, if somebody were to tell me, we could make a boot, I'd say, okay, well, it's got to have all leather components on the inside. That's just what I like. And I know they like to use some synthetics and foams and stuff like that. But I would want all leather. I would want to do something that would be different. So not just a takeoff of something that already exists, maybe in a different colorway, or modify one small thing on it and then call it my own. I would really want to do something that would be my own design. I'd like to try something that'd be a little bit more adventurous. And so anyway, they said, okay, cool, we'll touch base in a while. And that was like 6 months ago. And I actually had a conversation with one of the founders Friday, which was really encouraging. They wanted, let me start this by saying the reason that they wanted to pursue a collaborative effort was that I was very hard on their products in the past, which I have been. And probably a bit too much, if I'm being fair. Sometimes it's easy to poke fun at the big guy in the room, right? I mean, Thursday's making a lot of noise, and when you see that they do things that you're like, it's easy to sort of push on that spot, if that makes any sense. So, I'm not a big fan of some of their verbiage, best boots at the price. It should be, we make some of the best boots at this price point. There are better boots out there. They're just going to cost you more. I think that's the most honest way to put it. But if you look at some of their marketing, it looks like what they're saying is we make the best boots for any price anywhere. And I think that can be kind of misleading. The other thing I don't really care for is the people who they choose to partner with as far as like affiliate sales or sponsorships. I know that they've built a relationship with these people and that has maybe started years and years and years ago, but their content has changed. And I'm thinking of one guy in particular, which I really don't want to say the name of, but his channel, his content has changed, and I don't think it's a good look for them at all. Matter of fact, to me, if I was shopping for their boots, that might be enough for me to say, maybe I'll look elsewhere. But you know what? All that being said, the one thing I have always admired about Thursday is that they will course correct, right? So I'll give you a perfect example. The first leather jacket they came out with, I did a review on. I thought it sucked. I didn't like it at all. I was like, this thing is, it just has a lot of flaws in it. You got to go back to the drawing board. Now, again, maybe I was a bit harsh. I am sort of a person who sort of just says what I feel, and, not irrespective of somebody else's feelings, but I'll tell you kind of how it is, right? If something sucks, I'm gonna tell you it sucks. And they said that particular thing was actually a good example of how I've sort of held their feet to the fire on a few occasions, and they appreciate that kind of feedback. Now they're on version like 3 or 4 of their jackets, and they've actually become pretty damn good. So, I love the fact that they do that they take feedback, even when it comes from a harsh place like me, right? Kind of a tough grader, so to speak, and they will implement it. So I admire that, and I think that's the reason the company has been around for so long. And we don't really have any other company to thank as much for getting people into the boot game as Thursday Boots. So, even when I said that Thursday would be a great replacement for those Portland leather boots, you should have seen the comments on that. Oh, geez, another sponsored ad or whatever. I'm like, man, I just said that they would be a good alternative. I mean, again, you can't take everybody seriously, but holy moly, the blowback. Either way, we are working on something, and it might take some time. It might take 30 samples to get it right. But I think you're going to be impressed. And I love the fact that we can actually make some of these things, which have only been available in the $900 or whatever, $1,200 price point, and make them more available to people at a lower price. That's the most intriguing part to me. If we can get the construction details right, and it's something that I'd be proud to put my name behind, we might really have something. So all that to say, it might not happen, but hopefully it does. All right, on with the news. It looks like Naked and Famous released a denim jacket. I mean, they have a lot of denim jackets, but this one here is the left-hand twill selvage 13 3/4 ounce. It looks like a Type 3 jacket, and that is, let's see, it says it's 229 euros. So, I think we are, in America, we're a little bit beneath the euro as far as our dollar power. So figure somewhere around, $250. And it looks great. And what I love about Naked and Famous is that they do some really good stuff. And I'm not just saying for the price. I mean, as far as denim goes, maybe you don't get all the intricacies and stuff like that you get of an Ironheart or Momotaro or something like that. But for most people, this is going to be plenty. And that's what I like about them so much. The other thing is that the branding is so minimal. I don't see any exterior branding on this at all. So again, if you're looking for a great Type 3, be mindful that their fits are tight. This certainly would not fit me, but this might be a good example, and it's a really good price. So if this seems like something you want, you might want to go scoop one up. Whites came out with their CMP Sherman. This was an interesting release, and I saw the email come out about this, and I was like, that's interesting because I have an MP Sherman, and this is $625. A lot of money for a service boot, but it does sound like you're getting some pretty cool stuff here. So I'm gonna read directly from their website. This model is hand-lasted, hand-bottomed with all leather components to ensure unmatched comfort and longevity. So what we have here is basically people like whites because they still do some hand lasting and hand work on them, whereas a lot of other companies have used machines for that. What the difference is between a machine-built boot and a hand-built boot, it's certainly subjective, right? I mean, if you're talking about laser precision, well, yeah, a machine's gonna do it more precise and evenly than a human. But if you are looking for that old world type of build, and maybe there's a few imperfections here and there, but you like that, it's sort of endearing to the boot, this is what that is. So this is a pretty cool boot. Again, I have their MP, it's great. But the only thing I would say is that at this stage, they are getting certainly very, very close to the Viberg service boot, which was kind of one of the originals. And, maybe you're a big diehard whites fan. Some of those people are absolute lunatics, but, either way, if you're a whites fan, this might be right up your alley. If you're simply somebody who's searching for a great service boot and you see this one at $625 and right at $700 you have Viberg, now you have some weighing of the options to do. Do you like this hand-lasted, hand-bottom thing? Do you like the higher stitch per inch of the Viberg, the more sleek look? Totally up to you. It's your money, so you use it how you feel. Left Field NYC. I heard these guys are great, and I am so sad that I haven't had a chance to make my way over there to check out this shop. I've heard time and time again that we are certainly cut from the same cloth, and they seem like good people. They have come out with their OG 107 12-ounce Baker back cotton satin trousers. They look awesome. So these are a take on the classic OG 107 chinos, the standard military trouser from the 50s, and they're a straight leg fit, 2 front patch pockets, 2 rear button pockets, and they look really cool. Again, when you go with some of these replica type of things, especially from the military, you have to be careful that it doesn't look like you're cosplaying. And again, everything really cool has come from either the military or workwear. If you wear an A2 bomber, nobody's gonna say, is this stolen valor, right? So these are really cool. I don't think they're too derivative. I think they look great. They have enough differences and they're interesting enough that, people are just gonna make some comments like, those are pretty cool looking. It's not like you're walking around in a set of BDUs or something. So these look awesome. They are $230, which, for the price, it's certainly within the realm of affordability. I mean, $200 pants is nothing cheap, but you know what I mean? When you're talking about $500-600 pants from other companies, this isn't too bad. And I've heard this is a great company, so it piqued my interest. Oak Street Bootmakers released 3 boots in a new dye. Now, I think the models are tried and true, original, but the dye is much different. So this is Overdye Natural Camello by Tempesti, which I'll read you the description right here. It says, beginning with Tempesti's supple Camello tannage, a classic Italian natural veg tan, the leather is then overdyed with a removable pigment. The result is a T-core leather with a dye layer so thin that everyday wear yields stunning, dramatic patina that more closely resembles oil-rubbed bronze than leather, all in shockingly short period of time. So pretty cool. These are in around the $550. Looks like you can get the Lakeshore boot, the trench boot, and the trench Oxford. So, kind of classic silhouettes. The one thing I will say about these, it looks like that block heel stands very proud of that back heel, which kind of looks a little silly to me, but to each their own. And I think if what you're looking for is like a patina monster without having to do a lot of the work, this might be what you're after. A company called Iron and Resin, which actually you guys have suggested before that I look more into, has come out with something that, again, it might be a little bold, but I thought it was a pretty cool take. This is their Cavalan vest. Now, it is $700, but it looks pretty damn cool. So basically what it is, it's lambskin with a shearling liner. It looks really cool, but again, they've done some very nice stuff with this. The one thing it does say, it says imported, so I'd like to know where the country of origin is from. And if you zoom in on this tag, you can't see anything. So again, I'd love to know where it's from, because $699 is a lot of money to drop on something like this. I have seen something similar from the Real McCoys, but again, if it's not made in a country, if it's coming from a place that I don't really trust or whatever, I would be skeptical. However, I have heard great things about this brand, so certainly I may be totally off base here. And if I look in the details, let me just try one last thing here and see if I can find something. Specs and details. Yeah, see, it even just says imported. So I don't know where it's from, but from the outset, it looks really, really great. And if anybody else has any, input as far as something like this, and maybe you own one or one of their pieces or whatever, where's the iron and resin stuff usually made? But I'll tell you, I thought this looked dynamite. Freenote Cloth released their Bodhi shirt. They have one in moose brown, which is the one that kind of looked cool to me. Now, what this almost looks like is it looks like sashiko, right? That sort of repeating pattern or micro print type of thing. Although I believe it's actually in a weave rather than a print. So it's hard to tell though, because as you zoom in, it doesn't look like it's actually part of the weave, but I can't really find anything about this. I'd love to know what the source is and how they're making it. Either way, it looks really cool, and Freenote Cloth is a pretty good company to trust as far as their manufacturing goes and the quality of their garments. I have had several Freenote things. They've all been excellent. So unless something has changed, I would say that they're very good. And so it's a $300 shirt, which is, hell, it's not cheap, but still it's very interesting looking and different enough that when I saw it, again, it made me kind of perk up a little bit and say, okay, there's something that's new and interesting. So yeah, that's the Bodhi shirt. And for our weird pick this week, I found something on Corridor. This is called the Ghillie cardigan, and it could be yours for $525. It might make a great complement to those Insane Needles pants that we saw not too long ago. This looks like they took Sully from Monsters, Inc. and skinned him and made a cardigan out of it. I mean, it looks comfortable, but it looks, it's a statement piece, that's for sure. I don't know if this is your kind of thing, but wow. I'd also like to thank you for sharing your thoughts as far as like what I'm listening to, what you're listening to, recommendations based on what I've been listening to and watching. It's been really, really cool. As I think I mentioned last week, I've been in like a Jeff Beck hole where I've been kind of going down his catalog and enjoying especially a lot of the live stuff. And a lot of you had some really cool stories about Jeff Beck and stuff. So it's been a lot of fun. I would say that the thing that I've been watching that I would love to talk about this week is I had sort of avoided the last 3 Star Wars movies, the Disney ones, in a way intentionally, but also out of convenience. My kids are so young that they wouldn't really want to watch those things. But I finally got to watch them in parts and pieces, and I gotta say, I was sort of disappointed. I thought that they were very good visually, I mean, stunning visually, and the sound, everything like that, but it felt like a lot of AV candy and not a lot of substance. For example, I don't understand how in the world Rey, the main character, just suddenly has all these powers. She did like a little bit of training, but one of the big things about like the old movies was that the training, the Jedi training took a long time. And, it was this lost art or whatever. And she just happens to have these things. Now, I understand she might have been gifted being, Palpatine's daughter and stuff, but I just thought that, character development wasn't really there, and it was sad because, again, I think, what ends up happening, all right? People thought the prequels were junk, especially with Jar Jar. I mean, I remember when I was in high school, we skipped school, a whole bunch of us, like probably 20 of us, to go see episode 1 in the theaters. And it was really cool. It was a great experience. But I remember even being then, I'm like, oh, are they, is this droid fight happening on a screensaver? Like rolling hills and like no features. It was clearly pushing the limits of CGI. But now the prequels have fallen into favor with people because they've passed that nostalgia point, right? So I don't know if there's a bit of that happening where you tend to look on the old things as better than the new ones. But I felt like that I was left with a lot of questions, and I felt like what they were replacing really good story development, character development with was very flashy audio and visual stuff, which was stunning. But I don't know, I wanted a little bit more. I also wasn't a fan of the fact that they basically killed off every single character that I grew up with and learned to love. I mean, you know, I get it. It's the end of the series. These people are getting older. Carrie Fisher actually died. But did you have to kill off everybody? Damn. So anyway, another episode of Coffee with Carl is in the books. Thank you so much for being here with me. It's so much fun to do these with you and talk with you, and I'm sorry if I'm not able to respond to everybody. I'm doing my best with the time that I have, but it's not going unnoticed. I really do appreciate it. So I hope you have the best week ever, and I will talk to you next week.